It's April Fool's Day, but we're not going to be fools here, not with Mark Henry in the Live Impact studio joining us this morning from Alloy Wealth Management. He's here to help us avoid some of the financial mistakes that people make, so we're not left asking, where's the money? Mark, nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, let's talk first about 401ks today. Apparently, there are some pretty costly mistakes that people are making without even knowing it.
Yeah, no question about it. It's not an April Fool's joke. Unfortunately, literally millions of people don't take advantage of what's called a company match. So imagine this. Your employer is trying to give you a pay raise and you said, I'm good, don't need it. Who would do that? Well, if you're not participating in your company's 401k and they match, that's exactly what you just told them you don't need a raise. Think about this. If they say they'll match 3% of what you put in, if you just put the minimum 3% in, you just got a 3% pay raise.
Right. Pay yourself.
Why would you not? They say, I can't afford to. You can't afford not to. You have to do this. It must happen. So check with them. Now, along with that same thing on the 401k, though, also ask the HR department, do you have a Roth 401k? So many companies are matching on a Roth. Maybe we should put some of the money in the traditional 401 and some of the money in the Roth 401, because remember, that's going to grow tax-free. And we all like tax-free.
We do. I mean, it could be, it's just like a staggering amount of people, though, that are leaving money on the table, right?
Right, and they think they can't afford to do it, but you have no choice. It is literally telling the employer, I'm good. Don't need a raise.
I mean, we're stretching our money as it is, so like 3% doesn't sound like much, but
you got to get the free money.
All right.
You have to. We got to cut
find
out
a way.
Something has to happen. You got to get the free money. There's no question about that at all. It has to happen.
That's good.
And so many people are missing out on this. It's crazy.
All right. So retirement planning, it's not just about the money, is it? What do you mean by that?
Well, it's definitely not just about the money. It's we've been convinced there's some magical number that we can have when we actually retire, and we're going to be okay. The Bible's very clear. You can't build your walls high enough to protect for everything. So there is no magic number. It's about a spending plan. But you have to have money to get a spending plan, to get income. So when you think about this 401k that we were just talking about, that's really where it kind of starts. That's one of the backbones in a financial plan, is investing money in your company's 401k over a long period of time. Remember, it's not called timing the market, like I know when to put it in and when to take it out. Forget all that. It's time in the market.
Time in the market.
So if you start investing today and you continue that for a long time, guess what happens? Magically overnight, you go, I've actually accumulated a good bit of money. That's when you can start to transition that into something called an income plan. But it starts really with the backbone of that 401k or the Roth 401k.
All right. And if you could find room for both, that would be ideal.
Oh, my gosh, right?
Okay. Any other blunders that people make when it comes to 401ks?
They borrow against them.
Oh.
This is our long-term, but it's not our emergency fund. They take out too early. Think about this. If you withdraw money from your 401k, traditional 401k, before 59 and a half, you're going to pay income tax on the money, plus a 10% penalty. So think about this. If you're in a 20% tax bracket, plus the penalty to get hold of the money, you just paid 30% on every dollar you took. If you took $1, 30% went to Uncle Sam, you only got 70 cents. That is a horrible idea.
Yeah, but I mean, emergencies happen, right?
Emergencies do happen, and that's why we have to have an emergency fund for the emergencies where we're not paying a 10% penalty and we're not paying taxes on the money for the emergency.
Okay, so we have the emergency fund, the Roth IRA, and then the regular 401.
That's correct.
All right, so when it comes to when it comes to the thing that surprises people, what surprises people when it comes to their 401ks?
I think a lot of times people are surprised how just putting in a minimal amount over a long period of time adds up to as much money as it is. I see clients all the time that say, Mark, I never thought I did anything right, but I just kept funding my darn 401. Now that creates its own unique problems because a lot of times they don't have a lot of other money, but they got the 401 The issue is what? Well, they owe tax on all that money, so it's not quite as big as it seems. But just the fact that they did that allows them to now have a good chance at a successful retirement. And it really starts when you're young, and just do it and never stop, and it's going to be okay. That's one of the first surprises. The other mistakes I see people making, though, is they're not looking at what they put in it. Like sometimes they've been in their 401 for 15 years. You think the things you might have picked 15 years ago, with the way the world's changed, are still the things you need to have in that 401 today? Wow, think about that, the way things change. Or nobody's looking at what fees are being charged inside the 401. So typical 401s offer a selection of stuff, not everything, but they have a selection. Is anybody looking to see, are we buying the lower cost good stuff? Or are we paying a lot of fees inside there? They can have fees. They're riddled with them sometimes. So we just need to look at it.
Okay.
Not a bad thing. We just need to look.
All right. Look at your 401 every once in a while. All right. So April 1st, that means we are talking like the last few weeks before tax day, right? The refund, the average American receiving about $3,000.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's a pretty good amount. But
Decent.
but people are thinking about what to do with that money.
Yeah.
Right now, what should they do?
Well, first off, when you think about the refund, if you're getting a large refund, that tells me you just let the government use your money for 12 months interest-free. How nice of you. How generous of you to allow them to do that. Now, I'm not suggesting you shouldn't, but I like to time mine a little closer. You know, typically if you have to owe $1,000 or get $1,000, that seems like a pretty good deal. You start getting much over $3,000 in a refund, you let somebody use your money for a long time. Now you have to be honest with yourself and know who you are. If you know you would have spent that money during the year, just let them have it and get your big check.
Oh, okay.
Now, when you get the check, what do you do with it?
Yeah, what do you do?
Number one, everybody's going to say, pay off your credit cards. Got to get out of debt. Pay off your credit cards. Not if you don't have an emergency fund. Fully funded emergency fund first. Take that thing, put it away where you can't get to it unless it's an absolute emergency. Nothing invested, no Bitcoin, nothing going on here. We got to have a cash emergency fund. If we've got a fully funded emergency fund, let's go tackle some debt.
All right. How many months should your emergency fund cover?
There's a lot of variances on that. I think it really amounts to what kind of job you have. I would say, like in this market we're in, if you were a nurse, as long as you're a decent one, I would think you could get a job tomorrow. So yours might be a little shorter, but other people might need a little longer. But typically we like to say 4 to 6 months, something like that.
All right, something like that. So if you do get that big refund, you've got the emergency fund covered now.
Yep.
Tackle the debt.
Right.
This sounds really great. What else is there left to do?
What if you don't have a lot of debt or the debt's gone? Then it's time to invest. Let's go do something, right? And again, I love this. If you are being financially responsible and you're on a pretty good path, so let's say you've got the debt gone, the student loans are gone, you've got an emergency fund, and you get this refund check, and you say, you know what, I'm going to invest some, and I have no issue with, let's go take an extra vacation this year. Let's enjoy. That's okay to do that. Sometimes people are so involved in this idea of saving. When you get a little windfall like that, is it okay to spend some of it? Absolutely. I think we have to enjoy.
Yeah, we absolutely do. But if you are also getting a refund of $3,000, you might want to visit your finances during the year, right?
Right. Take a look at your deductions and make sure. And that's where you do this time of the year. Take a look at what your deductions are to make sure you're on track for next year. So you either get another smaller refund or you get a refund, you don't owe too much. Or if you do find you owe too much, now you're actually writing a check. Hey, let's fix that today so you don't write a check next year.
There you go. All right. You've got your eye on some other big picture items here. A lot of baby boomers retiring in big numbers. What should people know about that?
Well, when you think about this idea of retirement, I'm a Wall Street money manager, but Wall Street will not save you in retirement. And what I mean by that is there's something called sequence of returns risk. It's something everybody should understand. It's more important to me than market risk. It's this idea of timing. And when I say timing, you could have two people retire with the same amount of money, and 20 years later, one of them is broke, and one of them still has plenty of money, and they made the exact same returns. How is that mathematically possible? Has to do with sequence of returns. Think about this. If you retired in 07, pretty good year. Life's good. It's time to retire. And then what happened? 08. So the sequence of the returns, the losses came early. You're withdrawing money to live. You got to live. You retired. Then you had a really bad couple of years, and it set you up for a disaster. Many people had to go back to work.
Yeah.
Now think about the person that retired 4 years later, let's say. They retired in 2010. You could arguably say they went on to have some really good years for a while. And so if the average return for both those people could be the same, but when the losses came is what destroyed one person's retirement and not the others. And what control do we have over when the losses happen?
Yeah.
And we could start a new war tomorrow or something. Who knows? Markets could collapse. And so sequence of returns is one of the greatest risks that a retiree faces, and there are ways to prevent it. It's why you can't have all your money in the Wall Street casino.
Okay. So I don't know how you hedge your bets and the timing when it comes to a sequence of returns.
You can't hedge it with timing. That's why you don't put all your eggs in one basket. It sounds old, but that's a true story. You don't put all your eggs in one basket.
All right. Mark Henry from Alloy Wealth, we thank you so much. Good conversations. Topics are timely. A lot of folks retiring and getting their refund or paying. All right. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.